This true life story is about Mary Vincent, a 17 years old. She was left to die, alone, bleeding, in the middle of the desert. Mary Vincent was only 17 years old when she accepted a ride from a stranger. She was young, hopeful, and trying to get from one place to another, believing the world was mostly safe. She had no idea how quickly trust could turn into terror. At first, the man seemed normal, quiet, polite, almost forgettable, the kind of person no one would ever warn you about. They drove for a while, talking lightly, but as time passed, Mary noticed something unsettling. The roads grew emptier, buildings disappeared, civilization slowly faded behind them. When she asked where they were going, his answers became vague, short, dismissive. That's when fear began to settle in her chest. When the car finally stopped, it wasn't near a town or a gas station. It was surrounded by open land, dry air, endless desert. Before Mary could react, the man attacked her. There was no argument, no chance to run, no warning. What followed was brutal and overwhelming. Pain she couldn't process, fear she couldn't escape. Then came the moment that should have ended everything. After the attack, the man cut off both of Mary's arms. Not out of panic, not out of rage, but deliberately. Then he dragged her to the edge of a steep embankment and pushed her down into the desert below. He believed no one could survive that. He got back into his car and drove away. Mary Vincent, 17-year-old, lay at the slope of the desert, her body broken, bleeding heavily on both arms and sand. Shock took over. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then she woke up. Heat was already pressing down on her skin. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. Mary realized she was still alive, but barely. She had no hands, no phone. Blood soaked the ground beneath her. Most people would have believed it was over, that there was no possible way forward. She didn't think about tomorrow. She thought about one thing: surviving the next minute. She would die trying to live. Mary began to crawl, using her face. Every movement tore her skin. Sand filled her mouth. But she kept moving. She screamed. No one stopped. Each passing car felt like hope slipping further away. But Mary didn't stop crawling. Her vision blurred. Still, she moved forward. Time stretched endlessly. The sun climbed higher, draining what little strength she had left. At times, Mary blacked out. She thought about her family, her life, the future that had almost been stolen from her. She refused to let that man decide how her story ended. Eventually, a car slowed. At first, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Then they stopped and ran toward her. Mary was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Doctors were stunned. They couldn't believe the 17-year-old Mary Vincent had survived the blood loss, the heat, the distance she had crawled. But Mary wasn't done fighting. As she recovered, she worked with police. She described the man's face, his voice, his car. Every detail mattered. When the case went to court, Mary faced him, the man who believed she wouldn't live long enough to speak. She didn't look away. She pointed him out. Her testimony was clear, powerful, unshaken. The court listened, and he was sentenced to prison. For many people, that would have been the end of the story. But years later, Mary was forced to face him again. When he became eligible for release, Mary returned to court. Once more, she stood before the justice system, not as a victim, but as a survivor. She spoke about what he had done, about the pain, about the strength it took to live. And because of her words, he was sentenced again, ensuring he would never walk free. Mary Vincent lost her arms that day in the desert, but she kept her life. She went on to relearn everything most people take for granted: how to eat, how to dress, how to live independently. She built a future many thought impossible. Her story is not just about survival. It's about defiance, about choosing movement when the world expects surrender, about proving that even when everything is taken from you, your will can still carry you forward. Mary Vincent refused to disappear, and because she kept crawling, her story didn't end in the desert.